Tayana Baptist thought the scariest part about Seoul was not speaking the language. She was wrong. The scariest part was how Min Jae Park looked at her the morning after, like a guy who'd found something holy in the dark and would kill anyone who tried to steal it. "You're mine forever now," he'd growled, his inked fingers still twisted in her hair. She'd laughed it off as just bed talk. Big mistake, because 3 weeks later, when she saw his face on the news, called one of South Korea's meanest mafia bosses, and the pregnancy test in her shaky hands showed 2 pink lines, Tayana realized she hadn't just given her first time to a stranger. She'd given it to a guy who didn't know how to let go, and he didn't even know about the baby yet. But that morning in Seoul, 3 weeks earlier, Tayana had been happily clueless as golden sunlight came through the big windows of the penthouse suite. She didn't remember coming in. Her body hurt in new spots, a nice ache that made her think of his mouth, his hands, the way he'd loved every bit of her, like a guy obsessed. The silk sheets against her brown skin felt like riches she'd only seen in films. "You're awake." His voice came from across the room, rough with something that sounded like awe and want mixed up. Tayana sat up fast, holding the sheet to her chest. Min Jae stood by the window, no shirt on, and her breath stopped. Fancy black tattoos covered his left shoulder and ribs. A tiger about to pounce. Cherry blossoms turning into Korean words she couldn't read. The morning light made his skin shine gold, showing muscles that fit guys who hurt people for work, not the businessman who'd bought her whiskey and made her forget every rule about strangers. "I should," she started, but her voice came out rough, scratchy from yelling his name. "I should go." "Should you?" He moved closer, sneaky smooth in every step that made her legs squeeze without thinking. His eyes, gosh, those black eyes, held her like a caught animal. "Or are you running because I made you feel stuff? Nice girls from Brooklyn don't say they want." Her heart pounded against her ribs. Heat filled her face, her chest lower. "You don't know me. I know you taste like coconut oil and cocoa butter everywhere." He sat on the bed's edge, close enough his warmth wrapped her like ownership. "I know that noise you made when I kissed you in spots no one else had. I know you shook when I touched you, like every nerve was burning." His fingers traced the soft spot where her neck met her shoulder, and she gasped. "I know you held on to me so tight you left marks when you stopped," she whispered, but her body leaned toward him like a betrayer. "Stop what?" "Reminding you how you begged me not to stop last night." His hand slid up her thigh under the sheets, stopping just before where she hurt. "How you cried when I found out no one had ever touched you. How you looked at me like I was your hero and your doom at the same time." A little cry escaped her throat. She was already wanting him again, already craving him in ways that made shame and want fight in her chest. Min Jae's eyes went hot. "Your body doesn't lie to me, Tayana. It can't. Not after last night." His thumb rubbed dangerously high on her inner thigh. "I felt everything, every shake, every time you pulled me closer." "What are you?" The question came out needy, broken, because guys like you don't exist in your safe little world. His laugh was like dark chocolate and sharp blades. "What if I told you I'm exactly the kind of guy who wrecks good girls, the kind your grandma would have burned herbs to keep away?" Then I'd say I should have listened to her. But her hands reached for him anyway, fingers following the tiger tattoo that seemed to move with his breath. Min Jae grabbed both her wrists in one hand, his hold strong enough to show how icily he could overpower her, how icily he'd held her last night, while "You feel this?" He pressed her palm against his bare chest where his heart beat like war drums. "This doesn't happen for me ever." His accent wrapped the words like a warning and a vow. I don't get attached. I don't." He stopped himself, jaw tightening so hard she saw the muscle jump. "But you've gotten under my skin like a fever." What Tayana didn't know, what she couldn't see from her spot, wrapped in his sheets and his smell, was that across the Han River, Minj's dad was finding out his son missed a big meeting, that the marriage deal Minj had broken by touching her had a blood cost paid in bodies, that the men in black suits who'd watched them all night weren't just guards, they were collectors, and Minj had just stolen something that didn't belong to him. Her innocence was side damage in a war she didn't know about. She should have run. Every stay-alive gut feeling her mum had taught her screamed to grab her clothes and run back to her safe nursing meeting. Instead, she leaned into his touch like a lady hooked on her own ruin. "One more day," he whispered against her forehead, his lips leaving fire down to her neck, where he'd left a mark. Deliberate, possessive, she'd have to cover it with makeup. The thought made him smile against her skin. "Give me one more day before real life wrecks this." "Why?" Her voice broke. "Why me?" His eyes went wild, owning in a way that should have scared her. "Because you looked at me like I was just a guy, not a monster." He kissed the pulse beating in her throat, then bit down softly. Another mark. Not yet, anyway. That answer should have sent her running. Instead, it made her middle tighten with want. "One day," she breathed, "but I need to know your name. Your real full name, not just something flashed in his face." Pause. "Maybe sorry. Minj Park." He said it like a secret, like a bad word. "Remember it, Tayana. You're going to need it." The heaviness in those words made her chest tight. But before she could ask, he was kissing her again, making her forget every question except how his hands knew just where to touch to make her forget her own name. That day in Seoul became a hot dream full of want and incense smoke. He took her to a private hanok hidden in Bukhan, where cherry blossoms fell like snow, and the air smelled of sandalwood and secrets. The old house belonged to his grandma, he said, though the way the old lady bowed to him hinted something trickier. She served them tea with shaky hands, never looking him in the eye. Mingjae spoke to her in fast Korean, soft, kind, but Tayana heard the boss edge under the niceness. "What did you tell her?" Tayana asked when they were alone in the yard. "That you're important to me." His hand slid awning around her waist. "That anyone who is rude to you is rude to me. That's a lot of pressure for a one-night thing." His hold tightened, almost hurting. "Is that what you think this is?" The danger in his voice made her pulse jump. "What else would it be?" "Mine." The word came out deep, owning. "You're mine now. I don't share, I don't let go, and I sure as heck don't forget." Before she could think about that statement, he pulled her into the hanok's shadows and kissed her like he was trying to stamp his soul on hers. His hands roamed, owning her hips, her curves pulling her against him, until she felt just how much he wanted her again. "Minj," she gasped against his mouth. Someone could let them see. His hands slid lower, grabbing her in ways that made her knees weak. "Let them know you're mine." He took her to Gwangjong Market, where the air smelled of sesame oil, fermented kimchi, and sizzling meat, fed her tteokbokki and hotteok, while his guards watched from the shadows. Men in dark suits who made sellers nervous, and regular people give them room. She pretended not to see how people avoided looking right at Mingjae, how shopkeepers bowed too low, how a guy bumped into her and Mingjae had him by the throat in half a second. "Apologize," Mingjae said quietly in Korean, his voice super calm. "Mingjae, it's fine," Tayana started. "It's not fine." His eyes never left the guy who'd gone pale with fear. "No one touches what's mine." The guy stuttered, sorry, and Mingjae let him go with a push that made him fall. When he turned back to Tayana, his face softened right away, but she'd seen it. That quick flash of meanness under the surface. "You're scared," he noticed, his thumb rubbing her cheek. "Should I be of me?" "Never." His hand slid to her neck back, owning. "I'd burn the world before I'd hurt you. But yes, be scared of what I do to anyone else who tries." The sureness in his voice made something basic in her answer with heat instead of fear. What was wrong with her? But if Tayana had been paying attention, if she hadn't been tipsy on his touch and his words, she would have noticed how his guards were talking fast into phones. The way they kept glancing at Minj with something like fear. The way the trap was already closing on them both. They ended the day at the hanok, and he taught her bad words in Korean while his hands stayed owning on her waist. Her hip, the small of her back, always touching, always claiming. "Say it," he demanded, grinning like sin itself. "Sheeple," she tried, and his laugh rumbled through his chest into hers. "Terrible. Say it right, or I'll have to punish you." Her breath caught at the promise in his voice. How? His eyes went dark, hungry. He leaned in close, his lips brushing her ear. I'll make you beg me to stop teasing you and give you what you really want. Heat rushed through her so fast, she gasped. The pictures that brought up his hands, his mouth, his body against hers. Min-jae Man's voice cut through the moment like a knife. Min-jae went stiff, his whole body turning into something deadly. When he turned, the guy who'd laughed with her seconds ago was gone. In his place stood someone cold enough to kill without thinking. The man bowed low, speaking fast Korean that made Min-jae's face shut down completely. She caught one word repeated. Abiyaji, father, I have to go. Min-jae was already moving, his phone blowing up with calls. He silenced with mean swipes. What? Min-jae, what's happening? He stopped at the entrance, every muscle in his back tight like a hunter ready to attack. When he turned, his eyes held something like sadness and anger and wild want all mixed. If you're smart, he said quietly, voice raw, you'll forget me. Forget this. Go home to Brooklyn. Live your safe little life. Find some nice guy who won't. His hands clenched into fists hard enough. His knuckles went white. Who won't drag you into hell with him. Won't what? Min-jae, talk to me. Ruin you. He crossed the space between them in 2 steps, holding her face like she was precious and easy to break. But you should know, forgetting you is going to wreck me, and I don't forget what's mine ever. He kissed her one last time, needy, owning, tasting like goodbye and promises he couldn't keep. Then he was gone, leaving nothing but cherry blossoms on the floor and the ghost of his touch burning on her skin. Taeana stood alone in a borrowed hanok, feeling the first bit of real fear that maybe, just maybe, she'd given her first time to the kind of guy who'd either love her or wreck her. She wouldn't know which until 3 weeks later, staring at 2 pink lines and his face on the news with the word wanted underneath, realizing he'd be coming back for her. And guys like Min-jae Park didn't come back for chats. Think this is wild? We're just getting started. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel because when Min-jae finds out about the pregnancy, his owning side is about to hit a whole new level. And Taeana, she's about to learn that guys like him don't let go ever. 3 weeks of quiet felt like dying slow. Taeana told herself she was okay, that whatever happened in Seoul stayed in Seoul. That Min Park was just a pretty mistake she'd learned from and move on. She threw herself into extra shifts at Brooklyn Methodist, let her best friend Chenis pull her to Sunday brunch, and totally did not check her phone every 5 minutes, hoping for a text that never came. She was handling it, totally handling it, except she wasn't, because every night she dreamed of inked hands and growly owning words, woke up aching and empty. Her body remembering just how he'd filled her, stretched her, made her scream his name until her voice went scratchy. She'd touch herself in the dark, chasing the ghost of his mouth between her thighs. But her own fingers were nothing compared to she had to stop. This was sad until the sick feeling hit. Girl, you look green, Chenis said, eyeing her untouched mimosa at their usual spot in Fort Greene. The Sunday brunch crowd buzzed around them, but Taeana could barely focus past the rolling in her stomach. You coming down with something? Just tired. Taeana pushed her plate away, the smell of bacon making puke rise in her throat. You know how it is. Chenis's eyes narrowed with that look, the one that said she knew Taeana was lying but would come back to it. So, you going to tell me about Seoul? Or we still pretending nothing happened? Nothing happened. Taeana Baptiste. Chenis leaned forward, her box braids swinging. I've known you since nursing school. You came back from that meeting different, jumpy, checking your phone like you're waiting for the end times. And now you can't even look at bacon without turning green. Her eyes went wide. Oh my gosh, you met someone. Taeana's chest tightened. I didn't. You totally did. Was he cute? Please tell me he was cute, because you've been single longer than a desert. And she stopped, really looking at Taeana's face. Wait, that good, huh? Good enough to have you looking like a ghost 3 weeks later. Worse, because Taeana couldn't stop thinking about how Min-jae had pinned her wrists above her head, the yummy weight of him between her thighs, the dark promise in his voice when he'd said, mine, because her body still woke up, wet and wanting at 3 a.m. because she'd given a stranger everything and he'd vanished, like he'd never been there. "He's gone," she said finally, her voice cracking. "That's all that matters." Chenis reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "Baby, I'm sorry. Guys are trash. Even the cute ones. Especially the cute ones. Especially the ones with tiger tattoos and black eyes who made you forget your own name." Tiana made it through brunch, made it home, made it 2 more days before the sick feeling got so bad she couldn't ignore it anymore. And when she stood in the Dwayne Red on Flatbush Avenue, staring at pregnancy tests, her hands shook so bad the boxes rattled. This couldn't be happening. They'd used protection. She remembered that much through the fog of want and need. But protection fails. Numbers don't care about sad hearts or wrecked lives. In the store bathroom, Tiana peed on the stick with shaky hands and watched her whole life change in 3 minutes. 2 pink lines, her vision blurred. She gripped the sink, her mirror showing a lady she barely knew. Eyes too wide, breathing too fast, fear all over her face. A baby. She was going to have a baby. MJ's baby. The guy whose last name she barely knew, who disappeared without a trace, who touched her like she was holy and then vanished like she meant nothing. Her phone buzzed. News alert. Tiana's thumb moved without thinking, and her world tilted hard sideways. The photo showed Min in a perfect suit, with guys in black suits with guns showing in shoulder holders. His face was cold, deadly. Nothing like the guy who'd laughed with her over Tiak. The headline screamed, "Park Min JBO Group Air Wanted in Gang Fight Probe." The phone slipped from her fingers. She read in horror words like crime group and mafia boss and armed and dangerous blurring, together with details about the Park family's tight hold on souls underground, protection scams, money washing, meanness that made her nursing skills seem babyish and useless. This was the guy who'd whispered sweet things in Korean against her skin, who'd fed her street food and held her like she was precious, who'd found her first time and treated it like a gift instead of a problem. This was the dad of her child. The pregnancy test fell into the sink. Tiana's legs gave out and she slid down the bathroom wall, her chest so tight she couldn't breathe. What had she done? What had she been thinking? She'd let a stranger, a bad guy, inside her body, and now she was carrying his baby, a baby who would have a mafia boss for a dad, a baby who might get those same cold eyes and skill for meanness, a baby she already loved so hard it scared her. The bathroom door rattled. "Miss, you okay in there?" Tiana forced herself up, shoved the test into her purse with shaky hands, and walked out on legs that barely held her. She made it 2 blocks before she had to stop, leaning against a brick wall, while panic clawed at her throat. She was alone, totally alone, pregnant with a mob guy's baby. She couldn't tell anyone, couldn't go to the cops. What would she even say? "I slept with a Korean mafia heir and now I'm pregnant." They'd laugh her out of the station, or worse, put her in some kind of protection that would wreck her whole life. Couldn't tell her family. Her mum would have a stroke, and her grandma would probably try to do a spirit clean with herbs and prayers. What Tiana didn't know, couldn't have known as she stood on that Brooklyn street corner, trying not to fall apart, was that 3 blocks away, a black Mercedes with special plates had been following her since she left brunch. That Min's people had found her 2 days ago, that they'd been watching, waiting, telling back to a guy who was now on a plane over the Pacific, losing his darn mind because his dad's enemies knew about her now. That Minjay had spent 3 weeks in heck taking hits and making deals and burning ties, all to buy himself the freedom to come back for her, and that he was about 18 hours away from kicking down her door. Tiana went home to her tiny studio in Flatbush, locked the door, and tried to make a plan. She'd keep the baby. That choice came easier than breathing, probably because her grandma's church guilt ran deep. She'd figure out money, take extra shifts, maybe move to a cheaper spot. She'd do this alone because she had no other choice. She totally would not think about Minjay Park, except she did all the time, non-stop. She thought about him while she showered, her hands sliding over her still flat stomach, where his baby grew. Wondered if he ever thought about her, if that night had meant anything to him, or if she'd been just another win. If he'd feel anything knowing she carried his child, or if he'd know she couldn't go there, couldn't let herself hope for something that would wreck her. That night, Tayana lay in bed, unable to sleep, her mind racing. She pulled up the news story again, studying Min Jae's face like she could find answers in the hard lines and cold look. He looked dangerous, untouchable, nothing like the guy who'd begged for one more day with her. Her phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. The purple flowers on your nightstand are pretty hydrangeas, right? They mean devotion in Korea. Tayana's blood went cold. She shot up in bed, eyes flying to her nightstand where a vase of purple hydrangeas sat, flowers that for sure weren't there when she'd left for brunch. Her door was locked. Her window was closed. How the heck? Another text. Don't be afraid. I won't let anyone hurt you. Her hands shook so bad she almost dropped the phone. Someone had been in her apartment, was maybe still watching. She grabbed her pepper spray from the drawer, her heart pounding so hard her chest hurt. Another text. He's looking for you. Has been since the moment he left Seoul. You should know. He's killed 3 guys in the last 2 weeks for getting too close to info about you. Tayana's breath came in short gasps. This was crazy. This was her phone rang. Different number. Korean code. She should know. Should call 911. Should do anything except put that phone to her ear. She answered. Tae. His voice, rough, needy, so familiar, came through like a real touch that made her middle tighten despite everything. Thank gosh I've been losing my mind trying to find you. The sound of him saying her name after 3 weeks of quiet broke something inside her. How did you get this number? I have ways. A pause full of tight feeling, so thick she could barely breathe. Are you alone? That's none of your are you alone. Not a question. An order that made her thighs squeeze with heat. She didn't mean. Her throat tightened. She should hang up. Should block this number and pretend this talk never happened. Yes, good. His voice dropped to something dark and owning that made her remember just how he sounded when he was inside her. Lock your doors. All of them. Windows too. Don't open them for anyone except me. Excuse me, Min. What the heck is I'm in New York? The words hit her like a hit. Landed 2 hours ago. I'm coming for you, Tayana. And when I get there, we're going to talk about why you didn't tell me you're pregnant with my child. The world stopped. Her vision blurred at the edges. How did you really think I wouldn't know? His voice went rough with feeling she couldn't name. That I wouldn't feel it. You're carrying my baby and you weren't going to tell me. Tears burned her eyes. You're a bad guy. A gangster. I saw the news. I know what you are. Quiet then, so soft it scared her. You have no idea what I am, but you're about to find out. A pause full of promise and warning. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Be ready. Ready for what? To become mine for real, forever. His voice turned rough. Because that baby you're carrying just made you the most dangerous lady in my world, Tayana. And I don't let dangerous things out of my sight. The line went dead. Tayana stood frozen in her apartment, pregnancy test in her purse, hydrangeas on her nightstand, and the awful knowing that the most dangerous guy she'd ever met was about to walk back into her life. And gosh help her, her sneaky body was already aching for his touch. Tayana had exactly 28 minutes to lose her mind. She paced her tiny studio like a trapped animal, her phone clutched in one hand, pepper spray in the other. Like that would do anything against a guy who'd killed 3 people looking for her. Her heart pounded so hard she felt it in her throat, her wrists between her thighs, where her body remembered just what Min Jae could do to her. She should run, pack a bag, and vanish into the subway. Lose herself in the millions of people in New York. But even as the thought came, she knew it was useless. If he'd found her number, her address, knew about the pregnancy she'd found out 2 hours ago, running was pointless. And gosh help her, she didn't want to run. Her body had been aching for him for 3 weeks, craving his touch like a habit she couldn't break. Now he was coming back, and despite everything, The news stories, the meanness, the danger. Her body answered with heat and waiting. What was wrong with her? 23 minutes. Tiana caught sight of herself in the mirror. Her hair was a mess. She wore old leggings and a big Howard University sweatshirt. No makeup, no bra. Her body felt different already. Breasts sore, more touchy. Would he notice? Would his hands stop? She needed to stop thinking about his hands. She should change. Put on something that didn't scream, "I've been crying in my apartment." Armor herself with clothes and attitude, and whatever pride she had left. Instead, she stood frozen, her mirror showing a lady whose body was already betraying her. Red cheeks, big pupils, lips open like she was already waiting for his mouth on hers. 18 minutes, except it wasn't 18 minutes because a knock on her door made her jump so hard she nearly dropped the pepper spray. "Tiana," his voice came through the door, and every nerve in her body lit up like fireworks. "Open the door." "You said 30 minutes. Her voice came out breathless, needy. "It's only been," I lied. A pause full of tight feeling so thick she could taste it. "I've been sitting in my car outside your building, going crazy, watching your window, knowing you're up there alone, scared, carrying my baby." His voice dropped rough. "Open the door before I do something we'll both regret." Her feet moved before her brain caught up, pulled to him like gravity. Her hand reached for the lock, then stopped. "How do I know you're alone?" "You don't." His voice took on that dangerous edge that made her middle tighten. "But if I wanted to take you, Tiana, a locked door wouldn't stop me. I'd kick it down, throw you over my shoulder, and have you in my car before you could scream." A pause, and we both know you wouldn't scream. "Would you?" Her thighs pressed together without thinking. No, she wouldn't. Her sneaky body would probably wrap around him, and she unlocked the door with shaky hands. Minjae filled her doorway like a dark dream come true. 3 weeks had made him leaner, more dangerous. His black suit was wrinkled, his white shirt open at the collar, showing the edge of his tiger tattoo. Dark circles under those black eyes that looked over her like a real touch. A healing cut on his sharp cheek. Bruised knuckles that made her wonder who he'd hit, who he'd killed. He looked like 3 weeks in heck, and she'd never wanted anyone more in her life. His eyes dragged over her, slow, owning, staying on her chest, where the thin fabric hid little. His jaw tightened. "You're not wearing it," wasn't a question. Heat filled her face lower. "I wasn't expecting. I can see how your body remembers me, how it wants me even when your brain is telling you to run." He stepped inside, closing the door behind him with a click that made her pulse jump. "You're already answering to me, aren't you?" She should say no, should slap him for his cockiness. Instead, she stood frozen as he moved closer, sneaky and in control. "You're really pregnant." His hand lifted, hovering over her stomach without touching. "With my baby." "How did you know?" Her voice cracked. "I just found out. My people have been watching you." His eyes lifted to hers, dark with owning. "Followed you to the store, saw you by the test, saw you come out of that bathroom looking wrecked." His jaw tightened hard enough, she heard his teeth grind. "Do you have any idea what that did to me? Knowing you were alone, scared, thinking you had to handle this by yourself. You left me." The blame came out broken. "You vanished like I meant nothing. I left to protect you." He closed the space between them until his heat wrapped her. "My dad found out about you, about what I did, breaking my marriage deal, touching you when you belonged to no one, making you mine." His hand finally touched her, holding her face with super soft care. "He threatened to kill you." Tiana slowly, painfully. "Make me watch." Her breath caught. "Your dad is dead now." He said it without feeling. "I made sure of that 3 days ago." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Tiana's chest tightened. "You killed your own dad." "I killed the guy who threatened you." His thumb rubbed her bottom lip, and she nearly cried out. "I'd kill anyone who threatens what's mine, family or not." What Tiana didn't know, what Minjae wasn't ready to tell her yet, was that his dad's death had split the Bio group into 3 fighting parts. That half of Seoul's underground wanted Minj dead for killing his dad, that the other half wanted him as their boss, that marrying an outsider, a black American lady, would either build his power or wreck him totally. And that across the street, in a black van with dark windows, his enemies were watching this exact talk, waiting for the perfect time to hit. I need time. Tayana tried to step back, but her body wouldn't help. To think, to handle this is crazy. You think I don't know that? His other hand slid to her waist, pulling her close enough that she felt him hard against her stomach. You think I planned this? To fall for a lady in one night? To lose my mind over someone I can't have? To kill my own dad to protect her? You don't love me. But her voice shook. You don't even know me. I know you taste like coconut and honey. His lips brushed her forehead, her cheek. I know the sound you make when you're close. I know you held on to me so tight you left marks because you didn't want to let go. His hand spread over her stomach, owning, I know you're scared right now, but your body is aching for me to touch you, to remind you how good we are together. Her breath came in short gasps. His hand was sliding lower, fingers teasing the top of her leggings. She should stop him, should tell me I'm wrong. His mouth moved to her neck, finding that spot that made her knees weak. Tell me you don't want this, that you haven't been thinking about me every night, that you don't remember just how I made you feel. She couldn't because it was all true. Every word, I can't marry you. But her hands were grabbing his shirt, pulling him closer instead of pushing away. I can't. You can. You will. His teeth grazed her neck, and she moaned, because the other choice is watching everyone you love die while my enemies use you against me, is raising our baby alone while looking over your shoulder forever. He's never feeling this again. His hand slipped under her top and Tayana's world narrowed to the feel of his fingers against bare skin. Moving lower with slow care, Minj, her protest died as his fingers found her heat, and she was already ready for him. That's what I thought. His groan rumbled against her throat. Even scared, even mad. Your body knows who it belongs to. This isn't, she gasped, as his fingers explored, teasing with super skill. You can't just, I can, I will. His touch grew more pushy, and she nearly fell against him. I'll use every tool I have, Tayana. Your body, your need for me. His other hand gripped her hip, holding her steady. I'll make you so hooked on how I make you feel that saying no becomes impossible. She was already shaking, already losing herself in feeling. 3 weeks of wanting him, needing him, and now he was touching her like he owned her body. And maybe, gosh help her, he did. Say it. His voice went dark, bossy. Say you're mine. Her body was answering, heat building in her middle. Minjae, I can't think. When you're good, don't think, just feel. His touch got stronger, and she saw stars. Feel how perfectly we fit, how your body answers to mine, how it's already mine, even if you won't say it yet. She was going to fall apart right here in her doorway with a guy who'd killed his own dad, who was demanding she marry him, who made her body sing in ways that scared and thrilled her. His phone buzzed. Once, twice, urgent. Minja's whole body went stiff. His hand stopped, and she nearly cried at the loss. No. His voice went cold, deadly. Not now. He pulled his hand away and she cried out at the empty. He looked at his phone and his face turned into something that made her blood cold. Get dressed now. He was already moving, checking the window, his hand going to something at his back. A gun. He had a gun. We have maybe 2 minutes. What? Minjae, what's they found us? He grabbed her coat, her purse, shoving them at her. The people who want to use you against me. They're here. Here. How'd you? A red laser dot appeared on her wall, moving slow toward where she stood. Minjae moved like meanness itself, tackling her to the floor as her window blew in. Glass rained down like deadly drops. She screamed, her hands without thinking covering her stomach, protecting the baby. Stay down. Minjae's body covered hers, heavy and protective as her door crashed open with a loud boom. 3 guys in black gear came in, guns up, moving like soldiers. Minjae rolled, putting himself between her and the danger, his own gun appearing in his hand like magic. Gunfire started, super loud, scary. Tayana pressed herself against the floor, hands protecting her stomach, eyes shut tight. She heard Min-jae yelling in Korean, heard bodies hitting the floor, heard meanness she'd only seen in movies. Then quiet, heavy ringing quiet, broken only by her rough breathing. Taeyana Min-jae's hands were on her face, checking her for hurts. "Are you hurt?" "The baby, I'm okay." Her voice shook. "We're okay." His eyes closed for a second, relief washing over his face. Then he was pulling her up, his arm round her waist, moving her toward the door with fast need. "We need to go now. There will be more." And Taeyana, stepping over bodies in her own apartment with Min-jae's arm super tight around her waist, and her hands protecting the baby they'd made in Seoul, realized that saying no was never really a choice, because Min-jae Park's world had just crashed into hers with bullets and broken glass, and meanness she'd only seen in movies. And the scariest part, even now with death around them, part of her still ached for his touch. There was no going back. Min-jae's car was a tank, pretending to be a Mercedes. Bulletproof glass, strong doors, and a driver who drove Brooklyn streets like escaping a war, which Taeyana guessed he was. She sat in the back seat, Min-jae's jacket wrapped around her shaky shoulders, her hands still protectively covering her stomach. The rush was wearing off, leaving her wobbly and sick, and super aware of the guy beside her. Even now, even after watching him kill 3 guys with scary skill, her body answered to how close he was. The heat of his thigh against hers, the smell of sandalwood and gun smoke, the way his hand kept reaching for her like he needed to make sure she was real. "Where are we going?" Her voice came out smaller than she meant. "Somewhere safe." Min-jae's hand found hers in the dark, linking their fingers. His thumb rubbed her knuckles with surprising soft for a guy who just did murder. "I have a place in Manhattan, penthouse guards team. No one gets in without going through an army first. You can't just..." She tried to pull her hand away, but he held tight. "You can't just kidnap me because some people shot up my apartment. I didn't kidnap you. I saved you." His eyes flashed dangerous in the passing streetlights, and gosh help her, that darkness made her middle tighten. "There's a difference, is there?" She turned to face him fully, and the strong look in his gaze made her breath catch. "Because from where I'm sitting, he just pulled me out of my home, away from my life, without asking what I wanted." "What you want?" His voice went low, deadly, sending shivers down her spine. "You want to go back to that apartment and wait for the next team, because they'll come, Taeyana. They'll keep coming until they have you, our baby, or you're both dead." The words hit like a slap. Her hand moved without thinking to her stomach, and his followed right away, covering hers with owning heat. "Because of you," she whispered. "Yes," he didn't deny it, didn't soften it. "Because you're carrying my child. Because you let me inside you, gave me something precious. And now you're mine whether you accept it or not." His hand pressed more firm against her stomach. "In my world, the things I claim become weapons my enemies use against me. I won't let that happen to you. I didn't ask for this." Tears burned her eyes, but anger was there too, hot and right. "I didn't ask to be pregnant, didn't ask to be a target, didn't ask for you to come back and turn my life into a war zone. No, you asked for one night." He leaned closer, his heat wrapping her despite her anger, his breath against her neck, making her shake. "One night of forgetting the world was there, of letting a stranger touch you in ways no one else ever had, of screaming my name until your voice gave out." His lips brushed her ear. "You got that night, Taeyana. Now you get the results." Heat filled her body, wrong, unwanted, real. "You're a killer." She forced the words out, even as her body betrayed her, leaning into him. "I watched you kill the guys who came to hurt you, to take you to use our baby as leverage." His free hand slid to her thigh, grabbing, owning through the leggings. "Yes, I killed them. I'd kill 1,000 more if that's what it takes." His mouth moved to her neck, finding that spot that made her gasp. "I know what I am. I've never pretended to be anything else, but I'm your monster now. And monsters are very, very good at protecting what belongs to them. I don't belong to you." But her voice shook, her body melting against his, despite everything. "Your body thinks otherwise. His hand slid higher on her thigh, and she bit back a cry. It's been aching for me, hasn't it? Every night since Seoul, wanting me even when you hate yourself for it. She couldn't deny it, couldn't lie when he could probably feel her shaking, feel the heat coming from her middle. What Tayana didn't know, what Min-jae's tight shoulders and constant phone checking hinted, was that the attack on her apartment was just the first move, that his cousin Ji-hoon had set it up to prove Min-jae was weak because of his crush on her, that right now in a private room at a Korean spot in Korea, the broken BO leaders were meeting to decide if Min-jae's American lady was a help or a problem that needed to be gone, and that his sister Soo-jin was in that room fighting for Tayana's life, while Min-jae raced to get her somewhere he could really defend her. Time was running out, and neither of them knew it. The car pulled into an underground garage in Tribeca, all concrete and shadows and cameras every 10 feet. Min-jae helped her out, his hand on her lower back, his body between her and every possible danger. Even his protective way made her pulse race this way. The private elevator needed a fingerprint, eye scan, and code. Inside the mirrored elevator, Tayana caught sight of them, her messy and scared, him dark and dangerous and unable to stop touching her. His hand slid from her back to her hip, pulling her against him. Min-jae, what are you? I need his voice, rough, needy. I need to feel you know you're real, that you're safe. His other hand held her face, tilting her head up. I almost lost you tonight. You barely know me, she whispered, but her hands were gripping his shirt, holding on. I know enough. His forehead pressed against hers. I know you're stubborn and scared, and trying so hard to hate me. I know you're carrying my baby, and it scares you. I know. His thumb rubbed her bottom lip. That you want me to kiss you right now, even though you shouldn't. She did. Gosh help her. She did. The elevator doors opened right into a penthouse that looked like it was from a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows looking over the city. Modern stuff in blacks and grays. Art that probably cost more than her school loans. But Tayana barely saw the fancy, because Min-jae was already on his phone speaking fast Korean to someone who was clearly giving bad news based on his darkening face. She walked to the windows, needing space, needing to think. Her mirror stared back, a lady she barely knew. When had she become someone who let dangerous guys run her life, who answered to meanness and owning with heat instead of shock? You're thinking about running. Min-jae's voice came from behind her, and she felt him before she heard him. He moved to quiet for a guy his size. I can see it in how you're looking at the city, figuring which subway, which friend's place. How long before I find you? Can you blame me? No. He moved closer until his chest pressed against her back, his arms caging her against the window. But it won't work. I have people at every hospital, every clinic, every spot you might run. I'll find you in hours. His lips brushed her neck, and she gasped. And when I do, I'll remind you why running is pointless. Why your body will always bring you back to me. His hands slid round her waist, one moving up to cup her breasts through the thin sweatshirt, the other sliding down to press against her lower stomach where their baby grew. MJ, her protest died as he squeezed softly, his thumb finding her nipple through the fabric. You're not wearing a bra, he growled against her neck. Haven't been all night. Do you know what that does to me? Knowing I could touch you like this, whenever I want. You can't just, she gasped, as he rolled her nipple between his fingers. This isn't what fair. His other hand slid lower, teasing the top of her leggings. Nothing about this is fair. Tayana, not how I want you. Not how you answer to me despite everything. Not the fact that I'm so hooked on you, I killed my own dad. The words should shock her. Instead, they made her throb with need. His phone blew up with calls. Multiple numbers, all at once. Min-jae went stiff behind her, his hands stopping. He pulled away with a curse that needed no translation, answering in Korean that sounded like barely held meanness. Tayana turned, watching him change from the guy who'd been touching her to something cold and deadly. He paced like a trapped hunter, his voice going from bossy to threatening to something like a deal. He hung up and right away made another call, then another. His whole body was tight, ready for war. What's happening? Tayana's chest tightened with fear. My cousin made a move. Minja's voice was ice and anger. Called a meeting with the old guys. They're voting on if you're worth the mess you're causing. His eyes met hers, and she saw something dark under the anger. If the American lady pregnant with my heir is a help or a problem that needs to be gone. The floor seemed to tilt under her feet. Gone. They want me to choose. He crossed to her in 2 steps, gripping her shoulders. The family or you, power or this baby, my legacy or... His jaw tightened so hard, she heard his teeth grind. They're coming here tonight. 3 hours to see if I'll prove my loyalty. By killing me, the words came out barely a whisper. By giving you up, sending you away, ending the pregnancy. His hands tightened, almost hurting. By choosing the bio group over you, then do it. She said it even as tears burned her eyes. Let me go. I'll vanish. I'll know. The word came out deep. Total, you don't get it. I can't. He pulled her against him, his heart pounding against her chest. I won't give you up. I won't let them touch you. I won't. His hands slid into her hair, tilting her head back. I'm keeping you, keeping this baby, even if it means war, even if it means losing everything else. Why? She needed to understand. You've known me for 1 day. This is crazy, because you're mine. His mouth crashed onto hers, needy, owning, tasting like control and crush. Because I've never wanted to keep something the way I want to keep you. Because that baby inside you is the only thing I've ever made that isn't dirty with blood. He kissed her again harder. Because I'm hooked on you in ways that should scare us both. It should scare her. It did scare her, but it also made her kiss him back, made her body arch against his, made her moan into his mouth when his hands gripped her hips and lifted her against him. His phone rang again, breaking the moment. He answered, listened, and his face went from dark to deadly. He replied in Korean, short, sharp, bossy, and hung up with barely held meanness. That was my sister. He looked at Tayana with eyes that held sorries and promises in needy sureness. She bought us time. But Tayana, his hands framed her face. When they get here, when my cousin and the old guys see you, you need to get something. What? I'm going to have to act a part. Say things that will hurt you, touch you in ways that claim you in front of them. His thumb rubbed her cheekbone. I need them to see you as mine, as stuff I won't give up. Not as someone he stopped himself. Not as someone who has power over me. I don't get it. In 3 hours, strong guys are coming to test me, to see if I'm weak because of you. His voice dropped to something raw and true. And I need you to trust that every awful thing I do, every way I claim you, every time I treat you like you belong to me, instead of with me, it's all to keep you alive. Tayana's heart pounded against her ribs. What are you going to do? Whatever it takes. His kiss was softer this time, almost tender. Can you do that? Can you trust me even when I'm being a monster? She looked into his eyes and saw a guy barely holding control. Saw crush and need, and something darker that should send her running. I don't know, she whispered honestly. Then learn fast. His voice went cold, getting ready for war. Because in 3 hours, I'm going to show them just what kind of monster I become when someone threatens what's mine. He pulled away, already making calls, giving orders in Korean that sounded like fight plans. And Tayana stood in the middle of a penthouse that felt more like a cage, her hands protecting her stomach, wondering if she'd just agreed to become a piece in a game she didn't get, or worse, if she'd already lost herself to a guy who didn't know the difference between love and crush. Either way, there was no going back. Now, 3 hours felt like 3 minutes, and 3 years all at once. Tayana stood in Minja's bedroom because of course he'd said she'd rest there while he got ready for war. Staring at herself in a full mirror, he'd sent someone to get clothes from a fancy shop, she couldn't say. A tight black dress that hugged every curve, made her brown skin shine against the dark fabric, and probably cost more than 3 months' rent. Heels that made her legs look endless. Hair and makeup done by a quiet lady who'd worked with the speed of someone used to getting ladies ready for Minja's world. She looked pricey, claimed dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with her, and everything to do with the guy who dressed her like this. Her hands shook as she smoothed the dress over her still flat stomach. In a few hours, powerful guys would decide if she and her baby lived or died. The sick feeling had nothing to do with pregnancy. "You're beautiful." Minja's voice came from the doorway, and her whole body answered. Pulse jumping, skin heating, middle tightening. Despite everything, he'd changed into a black suit that probably cost more than her car. His hair styled back, his tiger tattoo showing at his collar. He looked like sin and power and danger wrapped in pricey fabric. And gosh help her, she wanted him even now. He crossed to her with sneaky grace, and she saw what he held. A thin gold chain with a hanging thing. Korean letters she couldn't read. "What does it say?" Her voice came out breathier than she meant. "Park." His hands were soft as he put it around her neck, but his eyes were dark with owning. His fingers stayed on her neck back, rubbing the touchy skin there until she shivered. "My family name, so everyone who sees you knows just who you belong to." His thumb traced her fast pulse. "Is that okay? It should feel like a collar, like ownership." Instead, it felt like the only safe thing in a world spinning out of control. "Do I have a choice?" "No." His truth was harsh and somehow comforting. "But I'm asking anyway because what you think matters to me, even when I can't give you what you want." She met his eyes in the mirror, his hands on her shoulders, his body heat against her back, the hanging thing resting just above her chest. They looked like something from a dark story, Beauty and the Beast, except she wasn't sure which was which. Then, yes, his breath out was shaky, like he'd been holding it. He turned her to face him, and the raw want in his face made her knees weak. His hands framed her face, thumb rubbing her cheekbones. "When they get here, stay close to me. Let me do the talking." His thumb traced her bottom lip, and she nearly cried out. "And Tiana, whatever I say, whatever I do, however I touch you in front of them, remember, it's to survive. Remember, you're safe with me even when I'm being a monster." "Am I?" She needed to ask, even as her body swayed toward him. "Safe with you. From everyone else, always." His hand slid to her throat, not squeezing, but claiming, his thumb pressing against her pounding pulse. "From me, I don't know anymore, because I want to touch you so bad right now. It's taking everything I have not to put you on that bed and make you forget we're about to walk into a war." Heat rushed between her thighs, his words, his touch, the dark promise in his eyes. It was too much and not enough. Minj's phone chimed. His face went from hot to cold in a beat. "They're here." He pulled away and she felt the loss like a real ache. "Stay behind me. Don't speak unless I tell you to. And remember," his eyes held hers strong and needy, "you're mine. I will protect what's mine." Her heart pounded as he led her to the living room, his hand owning on her lower back. Through the big windows, Manhattan sparkled without knowing while her whole world balanced on a knife edge. The elevator doors opened and Tiana's breath caught. 5 guys stepped out, pricey suits, cold eyes, the kind of held meanness that made her stale-alive feelings scream. The first was clearly kin to Minj. Same sharp face, same sneaky grace. But where Minj's eyes held strong and hidden warm, this guy's held only mean. His cousin Ji-hoon, she guessed. Behind him, for older guys who gave off boss and barely hidden threat. What Tiana couldn't know, what made Minj's hand tighten, almost hurting on her waist, was that Ji-hoon had already moved against them, that he'd contacted the rival Chiang group, offering them detailed info about Min's weak spot in trade for their help in a takeover. That 2 of the 4 older guys in this room had already agreed to back Ji-hoon if Minj showed any sign of feeling weak. That Minj's sister, Soo-jin, was now in a car 3 blocks away, with proof that could save them or doom them depending on her timing. And that this meeting wasn't a deal talk. It was a killing waiting to happen. Ji-hoon's eyes looked over Tiana with open hate, like she was something gross he'd found on his shoe. He spoke in Korean, fast mocking, and the other guys laughed. She didn't need words to know they were talking about her like stuff, like a problem to be gone. Minj's answer was ice and steel, his hand sliding from her waist to her hip, pulling her owning against his side. "English," one of the older guys said, his accent thick. "So your lady gets what we're deciding about her future." The easy mean in those words made Tayana's stomach tighten. "This is Tayana Baptiste." Minjae's voice carried total boss that made her shiver despite the danger. "The mum of my child, my future wife, and anyone who is rude to her answers to me personally." Ji-hoon smirked, switching to English. "Cousin, we're not here to be rude to your fun." His eyes flicked like nothing to Tayana's stomach. "We're here because you've made a problem. A very tricky, very dangerous problem." "My child isn't a problem." Minja's voice dropped to something deadly. "Your kid out of wedlock with an American outsider." Ji-hoon moved closer, circling them like a hunter checking prey. Tayana's heart pounded so hard she felt dizzy. "She's not even Korean, not family, not our people." He stopped right in front of her, looking her up and down with yuck. "She's a risk, Minj. The Chaeyoung group already knows about her. They're planning to use her against us. Against you." Tayana's hands moved without thinking to protect her stomach. Ji-hoon's eyes followed the move, and his smile turned mean. "Ah, mum instinct. How human." He leaned closer, and Minja's whole body went stiff beside her. "Tell me, Miss Baptiste, do you have any idea how many people want you dead right now? How many hits are already out on your life?" Her breath caught. Hits on her life. This was real. This was step back. Minjae's voice was barely a whisper, but it carried enough warning to make Ji-hoon pause now. "Or what?" Ji-hoon's smile got bigger. "You'll kill me, too, like you killed your dad. Prove my point that you're weak, feeling soft. Try me." The warning hung in the air like a blade. Tayana felt Minja's muscles tight against her, ready to hit. She was shaking, fear and rush, and the awful knowing that meanness was about to blow up around them. Ji-hoon stepped back, but his eyes never left Tayana. "Here's the deal. If we let this," he pointed at her like she was trash, "to go on, we look weak. Our enemies smell blood. Our friends question our smarts." He turned to the older guys. "So, I'm saying we fix this problem before it becomes a war." "Fix?" Tayana's voice came out stronger than she felt. "You mean kill?" "I mean get rid of the risk." Ji-hoon's smile was ice. "You and the kid you're carrying. Quick, clean, little mess." Terror locked her throat. This was really happening. They were easy talking about killing her and her baby like a business choice. Minjae moved so fast she barely saw it. One moment he was beside her. The next he had Ji-hoon by the throat, slammed against the window hard enough to crack the glass. "Say it again." Minjae's voice was barely human. "Threaten what's mine one more time and see what happens." The older guys moved, reaching for guns, but Minjae's guards appeared from shadows. 6 guys with guns already out, making a wall around Tayana. "You see," Ji-hoon choked out. Minjae's hand, still crushing his air pipe, feeling weak. "This is just." Minjae slammed him against the glass again, and Tayana jumped at the meanness, at how easy Minj could kill, at how much she wanted him to. What was wrong with her? "Let him go, Minj." One of the older guys spoke, his hand on his gun. "We're here to talk, not fight." Minjae's laugh was scary. "You come into my home, threaten my lady, talk about killing my child, and call it talk." He let go of Ji-hoon, who gasped for air, then turned to face the room with Tayana behind him. "Here's what's going to happen. Tayana stays with me, marries me, has my child under my protection, and anyone who has a problem with that can fight me right now. You're willing to start a war over some lady you barely know." One of the older guys shook his head. "Your dad would be my dad. Threaten to hurt her in front of me." Minjae's voice went flat, no feeling. "So I put a bullet in his head. Are you offering to give me a reason to do that lesson again?" The room went quiet. Tayana's vision blurred at the edges. He'd really done it. Killed his own dad for her, for a lady he'd spent one day with. The crush in that act should scare her. Instead, it made her middle tighten with heat, and something darker she didn't want to name. "This is crazy." Ji-hoon had got his breath back enough to speak. His voice, "You're going to wreck everything our family built for my family." Minjae pulled Tiana forward, his hands spreading owning over her stomach. For my heir, for my future. His other hand slid to her throat again, not threatening, but claiming in front of everyone. She's not separate from my power. She is my power now, my legacy, my Mina. A lady's voice cut through the tight like a knife. Tiana turned to see a pretty Korean lady step out of the elevator. Late 20s, fancy suit, holding herself with the same dangerous grace as Minj, his sister, Soo-jin. She spoke fast in Korean, and whatever she said made Ji-hoon's face go pale. English. Minj ordered without looking away from his cousin. I said. Soo-jin switched languages easy, her eyes cold. That Ji-hoon has been planning this for weeks. He set up the attack on Taeana's apartment to make you look weak, to prove you'd pick her over the family. She pulled out her phone, tapped it, and a recording played. Ji-hoon's voice, speaking Korean, then another guy answering, then laughter. Even without getting the words, Taeana heard the backstab in it. Soo-jin gave translation. He's dealing with the Chiang group, promising them land, info, access, in trade, for their help when he takes over. She looked at her cousin with yuck. He's selling us out to our enemies for power, using Taeana as an excuse to turn everyone against you. The older guys blew up in Korean, yelling, blames, anger. Ji-hoon's face went from shocked to trapped to needy. That's you, change that. I have 6 more recordings. Soo-jin's voice cut through the mess, plus money records, plus people who saw. She looked at the older guys. The question isn't if Minj is weak. It's if you'll back a leader who's loyal to family. All family, including the one he's making, or a traitor who will sell your grandkids to our enemies. The room turned into mess. Taeana pressed back against Minj, her heart pounding, her body shaking with fear and rush, and the awful knowing that her life hung in the balance of this fight. Minja's hand found hers, linking their fingers, holding on like she was the only solid thing in a falling world. Nuff, his voice cut through the noise like a gunshot. Here's what's happening. Taeana marries me tomorrow. She and our child stay under my protection. He looked at each older guy one by one. Anyone who backs that, you have my loyalty. Anyone who doesn't, you have 24 hours to leave New York before I see you as an enemy. And if we choose to fight, Ji-hoon's voice was pure poison. Minjae's smile was scary. Then we fight. And cousin, you better kill me, because if you don't, I promise you'll wish you had. The quiet stretched like a blade. Then, one by one, 3 of the older guys bowed a little, a sign of okay, however not happy. Ji-hoon stood alone, anger coming from every bit of him. This isn't over. You're right. Minja's voice was deadly calm. Guards, take him out, and make sure he gets that if he comes near what's mine again. The next meeting won't end with him breathing. Armed guys moved forward. Ji-hoon backed toward the elevator, his eyes promising meanness and payback. The elevator doors closed on his angry face. The left guys filed out with different levels of okay and mad. Soo-jin stayed, her face hard to read. We need to talk security, she said, quiet. Ji-hoon will hit back soon. I know. Minja's hand tightened on Taeana's. Thank you, Soo-jin. His sister nodded, then looked at Taeana. Welcome to the family. Try not to get him killed. Then she was gone, leaving them alone in the penthouse that suddenly felt too quiet. Taeana's legs gave out. Minjae caught her before she hit the floor, lifting her like she was light, carrying her to the couch. His hands shook as he checked her over, her face, her arms, her stomach, looking for hurt that wasn't body. Are you okay? The baby, we're fine. Her voice cracked. Minj, what, just you almost? They wanted to sh. He pulled her onto his lap, wrapping around her like he could shield her from the world with his body alone. You're safe. I've got you. No one's touching you. You started a war. She was shaking so hard her teeth clicked. For me, for a baby you didn't even plan. You're going to lose everything. I already told you. His hands slid into her hair, tilting her head back, so she had to meet his eyes. I lost everything the moment I decided I couldn't let you go. Now I'm just fighting to keep what really matters. I'm not worth. Don't. His kiss was needy, eating, tasting like owning and want and something darker. Don't tell me what you're worth. You're worth everything to me. You and this baby, you're the only good things I've ever had. His hands roamed owning her back, her hips sliding up to cup her face. When he kissed her again, it was slower, deeper, like he was trying to crawl inside her soul. MJ, she breathed against his mouth. We almost died tonight. I know. His forehead pressed against hers. That's why I need to feel you. Need to know you're real. That we survived. His hands slid to her thighs, pushing up the dress. Tell me to stop and I will. But Tayana, I need you so bad right now. I can barely breathe. She should stop him. Should think about what just happened. Should think clear about what she was doing. Instead, she kissed him back like he was air, and she'd been drowning. Don't stop, she whispered against his lips. Please don't stop. His groan was pure want as his hands gripped her hips, pulling her closer. And Tayana, melting into a guy who'd just started a war for her, realized she was in way deeper than pregnancy or protection. She was falling for the monster who'd picked her over his kingdom, and gosh help her, she didn't want him to be soft anymore. She wanted everything. Morning came too quick, and not quick enough. Tayana woke wrapped in Minja's arms, his heartbeat steady against her back, his hands spread owning over her stomach, where their baby grew. Last night had been, she didn't have words for what last night had been, needy, and eating, and everything she'd been craving since Soul. He'd loved her body like a guy starving, made her forget about wars and danger and death, made her come apart so many times she'd lost count. Now, in the cold light of morning, real life crashed back. She was marrying a Mafia boss in 6 hours. You're thinking too loud. Minja's voice was rough with sleep, his lips finding that touchy spot on her neck that made her gasp. I can feel your worry from here. Can you blame me? She turned to face him and gosh, she was wrecking in the morning light. Hair messy, eyes soft, looking almost human, almost safe. Yesterday, people voted on whether to kill me. Today I'm supposed to marry you and pretend this is normal. It's not normal. His hand held her face with super soft that went against everything he was. Nothing about us is normal, but it's real. His thumb rubbed her bottom lip and heat pulled low in her belly, despite everything. And it's ours. Are you having second thoughts? Yes, no, maybe. She didn't know anymore. I'm scared, she admitted, of your world, of what happens next. She stopped, but he knew. Of me. His voice went quiet, open. Of what I am, what I can do. You killed your dad. The words hung between them like smoke. You killed 3 guys in my apartment without blinking. Last night, you threatened your own cousin with murder. Her hand pressed against his chest, feeling his heart pound under her palm. How do I make that fit with the guy who touches me like I'm glass? Who holds me like I'm the only thing keeping him human? His hand covered hers, holding it against his heart. You don't have to make it fit. I'm a monster who does awful things. I always will be. His other hand slid to her stomach, protective and owning. But Tayana, I'm your monster, and I will never turn that darkness on you or our child. You're the only light I've ever had. Before she could answer, his phone blew up with calls. Multiple numbers, all needy. His face changed from soft to deadly in a beat. He answered in Korean, listened, and every muscle in his body went stiff with tight. How long ago? Pause. Where? Another pause. Move her now. He was out of bed in seconds, already pulling on clothes, giving orders in fast Korean that sounded like fight commands. What's happening? Tayana sat up, holding the sheet to her bare chest, her heart already racing. Change of plans. His voice was short, in control, scary in its calm. We're getting married now. Not tonight. Now what? Because Ji-hoon planted a bomb in the parking garage, 3 floors down. He said it like talking about weather, but his hands shook as he pulled out a clothes bag from the closet. My people found it 20 minutes ago, took it apart, but he's also got guys watching the building, and according to my sister, the Chiang group is planning to hit the wedding tonight, kidnap you, use you as leverage. He turned to face her, and the fear in his eyes was scarier than anything. We need to move. get you somewhere safer. Become my wife legally so you have protection under family rules. A bomb. Someone had tried to blow them up while they slept, while she'd been wrapped in his arms, feeling safe for the first time in days. I can't. Her vision blurred at the edges, panic clawing at her throat. Min-jae, this is crazy. Maybe I should just leave. Go somewhere he can't find me. Protect the baby by no. He crossed to her in 2 steps, gripping her shoulders, his eyes burning. Running won't save you. It'll just make you an easier target. They have ways everywhere. Taeana, contacts in every city. The only way through this is together. As my wife, under my full protection. His voice cracked. Trust me, please. I know I'm asking for everything, but okay. The word came out steadier than she felt. Okay, let's get married. His breath out was shaky with relief. He kissed her, needy, thankful, owning, his hands sliding into her hair to hold her close. 5 minutes, he whispered against her lips. Get dressed, I'll handle everything else. The dress inside the bag was white, simple, pretty, with soft lace at the shoulders and a fit that would hide her barely bump. More beautiful than anything she'd ever owned. She dressed with shaky hands, while Minj made call after call, his voice bossy and cold, and nothing like the guy who'd held her so soft moments ago. When she came out from the bathroom, he stopped mid-word, his eyes darkening with heat and owning in something that looked close to worship. You're beautiful. His voice was rough, raw. My wife. Not yet. But her heart pounded at the word wife. Soon he pulled her close, his hand owning on her lower back, the other holding her face. And then no one can touch you without starting a war they can't win. What neither of them knew, what Minj's tight shoulders and constant phone checking hinted, was that Ji-hoon wasn't just planning a hit. He was planning a killing, that the bomb in the garage was a trick to flush them out, that he had shooters on 3 roofs with orders to shoot when Taeana showed in the open, that the only reason they'd survived the next hour was because Soo-jin had turned one of Ji-hoon's guys, got the info, and was now moving Minj's guards to block every threat. They were walking into a trap, but at least they knew it was coming. The elevator took them to an underground garage where 3 same black SUVs waited, engines on, guards everywhere, guys with guns looking at roofs, tight faces that made Taeana's stomach tighten with fear. Min-jae tucked her into the middle car, his body shielding hers fully, his hand never leaving her waist. Stay down, he ordered, pushing her head below window level as the group pulled out. Don't sit up until I tell you. The cars moved through Manhattan with fast speed, weaving through cars, taking random turns. Taeana's heart pounded against her ribs, her hands protectively covering her stomach. Where are we going? She asked, her voice muffled against his chest. Koreatown, private spot. Soo-jin's waiting. His thumb rubbed circles on her hip, a nervous move that made him seem almost human. It'll be small, quick, just us, my sister, witnesses, and a fast. No one else. Not that she had family here to invite anyway. After, when it's safe. His hand tightened on her protectively. When I can give you the wedding you deserve. Instead of this rushed. Shots started. The back window shattered. Safety glass spraying everywhere. Taeana screamed and Min-jae's body covered hers fully, crushing her into the seat, while their driver turned hard. Stay down. Min-jae's gun was in his hand. When had he pulled it, shooting back through the broken window with cold aim? More shots, yelling in Korean, the squeal of tires. Taeana couldn't see anything, could only hear the mess. Feel Min-jae's heart pounding against her back. Smell gun smoke and fear. Then quiet, heavy ringing quiet, broken only by her rough breathing. Taeana. Min-jae's hands were on her face, checking for hurts, his eyes wild with fear. Are you hurt? The baby, we're okay. Her voice shook. Where MJ? What? Ji-hoon's guys. They were waiting. His jaw tightened hard enough. She heard his teeth grind. But they're not waiting anymore. She looked through the broken window and saw bodies on the street. Blood. The other SUVs, making a protective wall around them. This was her wedding day. This meanness. This mess. This was what she'd signed up for. The convoy kept going faster now, more needy. They pulled into an underground parking under a plane building in Koreatown. More guards, more guns, more tents that made the air feel too thick to breathe. Min-jae helped her out, and she saw Soo-jin waiting, looking fancy and deadly in a deep blue dress, her face mad. She spoke fast Korean to Minj, and whatever she said made his face darken more. English, he ordered. Ji-hoon knows you're here. He's getting everything ready. Soo-jin's eyes flicked Taeyana with something like respect. You've got maybe 40 minutes before this spot is hit. Marry her. Make it legal. Then we moved to the Westchester safe house. They took a back elevator to the 3rd floor, coming out into what looked like a old Korean tea house. All dark wooden paper screens, and the smell of jasmine and incense. Pretty and close, and totally not expected. An old Korean guy in old clothes waited with 2 of Min-jae's trusted guards as witnesses. The leader looked ancient, wise, and totally not bothered by the guns and meanness that came before this moment. We can still run, Minj whispered against her ear, his hand shaking on her back. Say the word. New names, new place. I'll walk away from everything. She turned to look at him, and the open in his eyes, the fear that she'd pick safe over him, made her chest hurt. No running. Her hand found his, linking their fingers. We finished this together. His kiss was needy, thankful, tasting like vows and hope, and barely held panic. The thing started. The leader spoke in Korean, deep ringing words that echoed in the quiet space. Min-jae answered in his language, his voice steady, despite his shaky hands, his eyes never leaving Taeyana's face. Soo-jin translated soft. He's vowing to protect you with his life, to honor you above all others, to raise your kids in both ways, to be worthy of the gift you're giving him. Tears burned Taeyana's eyes. This guy, this dangerous, broken, pretty guy was promising her everything with words she couldn't get but felt in her soul. When the leader turned to her, Soo-jin translated again. He's asking if you take Minj as your husband to honor and protect in dark and light through blood and fire. Knowing what he is, and picking him anyway through blood and fire. The words should scare her. Instead, they felt like the most true vows she'd ever heard. I do. Her voice didn't shake. I pick him. All of him. Minja's eyes closed for a second, a single tear escaping before he caught it. Before he pulled her close and kissed her like she was air and he'd been drowning. More Korean, more vows. Then the leader smiled, real and warm, and nodded his okay. You're married, Soo-jin said quiet. She's family now, protected under our rules. Min-jae pulled Taeyana against him, his hands framing her face, his forehead pressed to hers. You're mine now, my wife, my family. Nothing can touch you. We're yours, she fixed, placing his hand on her stomach. Both of us, his breath caught. Both of you, my whole world. They signed papers fast, her hands shaking as she wrote her new name, Taeyana Park. It looked strange on paper, like someone else's life, except it wasn't someone else anymore. It was hers. We need to move, one of the guards said needy. Multiple cars coming, Chiang colors. How many? MJ's voice went cold. At least 8. They're not hiding anymore. They're coming for her. Min-jae pulled Taeyana toward the elevator. They know if they take her now, I'll give them anything. The ride down was tight, quiet, except for guns being checked. Last gets ready being done. In the garage, the cars were already running, more guards coming from shadows. But before they could reach the SUVs, the elevator across the garage opened, and Ji-hoon stepped out with 6 armed guys. Cousin, his smile was poison. Congrats on your wedding, though I'm afraid the trip after will have to wait. Min-jae pushed Taeyana behind him, his gun already out. Around them, guards raised their weapons, making a wall. Last chance, Ji-hoon. Min-jae said quiet. Walk away. Live and let you wreck our family with your American. Ji-hoon's eyes flicked Taeyana with yuck. I don't think so. Don't call her that. Minja's voice dropped to something deadly. Don't even look at her. Or what? Ji-hoon laughed. You're weak, cousin. Love made you weak, and weak gets people killed. You're right about one thing. Minja's face went flat. No feeling. The face of a guy about to do meanness. Someone is about to die, but it won't be me. The garage blew up into mess. Shots, yelling bodies, moving with deadly skill. Minjae pushed Tayana to the ground behind an SUV, his body covering hers, protecting her from the meanness blowing up around them. She couldn't see what was happening, could only hear the scary music of death. Gunshots, screams, Korean bad words, the wet sound of bullets hitting flesh. Then quiet. Minjae lifted off her slow, checking her for hurts with shaky hands. "Are you?" "I'm fine." She looked past him and saw Ji-hoon on the ground, blood pooling under him, his eyes already empty. "Is he dead?" Minjae's voice held no feeling. "It's over." But it wasn't over because, as they stood, as Minj helped her to her feet, more cars screeched into the garage. But these had different colors. BO colors. Minjae's group. From the lead car, an old Korean guy came out, fancy suit, silver hair, holding himself with total boss. He spoke in Korean, and Minjae answered with a bow that Tayana had never seen him give anyone. "My uncle," Minj whispered to her. "The one who helped take down my dad. Head of the council now." The uncle looked at Tayana with sharp checking eyes. He spoke fast Korean. That sounded like a question. Minjae answered firm, his hand finding hers, showing her with clear pride. The uncle studied them both for a long moment. Then he smiled, small but real, and bowed a little to Tayana. He says, "Welcome to the family." Sujin translated, appearing at Tayana's side. He says, "Any lady brave enough to marry Minjae and survive the first day deserves respect. Tell him thank you." Tayana managed. The uncle spoke again, longer this time, his tone softer. He says, "The war is over." Sujin translated, "With Ji-hoon dead, the Chaeyoung group will deal peace. You're safe now, both of you safe." The word felt strange after everything. Minjae pulled her against him, his whole body shaking with relief. He finally let himself feel, "It's over, you're safe." Where his voice broke, "We made it." Tayana wrapped her arms around him and held on while he fell apart. This dangerous guy who'd fought a war for her, who'd killed for her, who'd picked her over his whole kingdom. "Take us home," she whispered. "Take us home, Minj." 6 months later, the Westchester place was nothing like Tayana had thought. Yes, there was guards, quiet but there were also gardens where she grew herbs from her grandma's ways. A kitchen where Minja's cook taught her to make kimchi while chatting in Korean. Tayana was slowly learning. A baby room painted soft yellow where Minjae spent hours putting together stuff with cute no skill. "You're doing it wrong." Tayana laughed from the doorway. 8 months pregnant and shining, watching her husband curse at crib houters in 2 languages. "I'm doing it perfect," he argued, but the crooked result said otherwise. It's harder than breaking a sneaking ring. That's because cribs don't answer to threats." He looked up at her, and his face softened into something that still made her breath catch. "Come here." She waddled over. There was no other word for it at this point, and let him pull her between his legs, his hands covering her huge belly. "Hi, baby girl," he whispered in Korean, then English, pressing kisses to Tayana's stomach. "Your appa is trying very hard not to build you a death trap. Your Ayama thinks it's funny." "It is funny." Tayana's fingers slid into his hair. "You've changed, you know. 6 months ago, you would have just ordered someone else to do this. 6 months ago, I was trying to keep us alive." His hands rubbed her belly with awe. "Now, I'm trying to be the dad she deserves, even if I'm bad at how-tos. You'll be a great dad." She meant it. She watched him change over these months. Still dangerous when needed, but softer, more here, building something real beside the family work. "She's lucky to have you. We're lucky to have you." He stood, pulling her close as her belly let, and kissed her with the same strong he'd had since Seoul. "I love you, Tayana Park. Every day more than the last. I love you, too." She'd said it 1,000 times since that car ride, and it still felt new every time. "My beautiful monster." "Your monster," he agreed, his hand protective over their daughter. Always. That night, Tayana's water broke during dinner. Min-jae turned into controlled mess, giving orders to guards, calling the hospital, holding her hand with crushing strong, while trying not to show his fear. "I've got you," he kept saying. "I've got you. You're strong. You can do this." 23 hours of work later, with Minj never leaving her side, his hand crushed in hers, his voice helping her through in Korean and English. Their daughter came into the world screaming. "She's perfect," Minj whispered, tears down his face as he held their tiny girl for the first time. "She has your eyes, your strength, his voice broke fully. "Thank you for this, for her, for saving me. We saved each other." Tayana managed, tired and happy, and so full of love she could barely breathe. Mio Amara Park, named for both their ways, their families, their hope, yawned and opened dark eyes that would someday break hearts. Soo Jin arrived an hour later with flowers and fierce protect, right away claiming best aunt spot. Min-jae's uncle sent an old Korean gold ring for the baby, okay, and blessing wrapped in old ways. They'd survived, built something pretty from meanness and crush, made a family from mess, and as Tayana watched her husband hold their daughter with hands that had killed for them, protected them, loved them with scary strong, she knew she'd make the same choice again every single time, because monsters who loved hard made the best protectors, and she'd never been safer than in the arms of hers. If Tayana and Min-jae's story had you on the edge of your seat, hit that subscribe button. I've got more Afro-Korean romance coming, dangerous guys, strong ladies, and love that burns everything down. Comment which trope you want next. Enemies to lovers, fake marriage, second chance. And don't forget to like if you're Team MJ. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming. See you in the next.